One of the most interesting stories to come out of Cleveland yesterday was the call from Steve Loomis, the president of the Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association, to temporarily restrict the state's open carry gun laws. He called on John Kasich to do that. It would be unconstitutional to do that, but Loomis said he didn't care if it would be unconstitutional. Holy smokes, we got to be careful what we say. Michele Byington is an attorney with U.S. Law Shield, and she can shed a little light on this. And good morning, Michele. Certainly an interesting request, I think, by Stephen Loomis, but I think kind of out of line, don't you?
Kind of. I just absolutely shook my head and thought that this guy is just taking the Constitution, throwing it away in front of our very eyes, and just being so nonchalant and shirking our civil rights.
He did it, obviously, in the name of safety, in what he hoped would improve the conditions around the arena and around the city of Cleveland. But I think in doing so, he was absolutely blind to the Constitution.
Absolutely. And we've seen this argument before, and it is a compelling argument that does hit an emotional chord with many people, that in the name of safety, we must give up certain rights. We saw this with the Patriot Act that passed back in 2001. And so it's not a new argument that's being used. I mean, it's unconstitutional any which way you look at it, though.
The way John Kasich responded, I thought, was appropriate, quick, decisive. I cannot do that.
Yeah, I was very impressed with John Kasich's decision to say, nope, not going to happen. But what we've got to remember with if an individual is going to say, hey, no open carry, they're violating the First Amendment, which is the right to protest, and then on top of that, the Second Amendment, which is, of course, the right to bear arms. And when you are protesting with your firearms, then you are violating two amendments at once.
At first blush, Michele, and I said this yesterday on the air, I said, look, the presence of weapons in a situation like that where it's volatile, it's not a good idea. I mean, if you're going to use your common sense, it's not a good idea, because when people see the weapons, they don't know what the intent is. I certainly understand where Loomis is coming from, but there's a hard line that you can't cross. And I think that's where, if there's a debate here, and it's really one that's easily solved, but if there's a debate here, that's what the debate is. Why throw fuel on this fire?
Oh, absolutely. And I think none of us really disagree with that. I mean, I know Ohio has been quite ahead of the curve for a while and had lawful open carry. I mean, here in Texas, we just got it back in January. And that was our concern here in Texas. And especially as a gun advocate, it was like, oh, my gosh, is some one bad apple going to ruin our gun rights when he decides to go nuts while open carrying under the auspices of exercising his First and Second Amendment? But at the end of the day, what you've got to think about is if we don't exercise these rights, we're going to lose them. Right.
That's right. Michele, has there ever been a case that you can think of, because I know you've studied this a whole lot more than I have, where anything like this has ever been suspended in the interest of public safety?
Not in recent times, no. Hopefully we keep this trend going where we have law-abiding citizens exercising their rights and causing no problems. And hopefully it leads to a more peaceful society with more arms.
Boy, that's what we're all shooting for. Michele, thank you very much. I appreciate the insight on that.